everybody, I'm Sable Danielle, a human design coach and sound healer, and today I'm here to talk all about the throat center. So in our last video, we went over a brief summary of what centers are, what their purpose is, what they do, and today we're just going to focus on the throat center because it's one of the best centers. No, they are all important, but the throat center is very special because it represents your voice, your unique way of expressing how you communicate, how people receive you, how you feel about communicating, how you manifest, and how you bring things into fruition. So these are some of the things that you can learn about by learning and looking at your throat center. So the throat center is special not only because it represents all of those important aspects that I just mentioned, but also because all of the energy in your body graph that you see is moving towards your throat center. And that is because it needs to express, it needs to manifest, it needs to come into fruition. So all the energy is moving towards your throat so that something can happen, something can manifest, something can verbally come out. And so the throat center pressures you to speak and act, and that's why knowing your voice is so crucial, because sometimes we may blurt things out or try to communicate things before it's time, and then people don't really receive it or hear us well. Or we may, understanding the throat center can help us know when we should engage with people and when we shouldn't. And it helps us know how people can hear us and why we may have certain fears or anxieties regarding communication or how comfortable you are communicating. So the throat center has two roles, and it's manifesting through expression and then manifesting through action. There are 11 gates within your throat center, and they all have a specific purpose. They all represent a specific trait or characteristic regarding expression, communication, and manifestation. And so, like all the other centers, it can either be defined, open, or undefined. And a defined throat center consists a defined throat center gives you consistent energy to speak. It gives you a reliable, consistent tone of voice. It gives you a captivating, unique voice that stands out. You can easily express yourself. You may talk a lot. You're great at telling stories and getting the attention of the people that you're speaking to, the audience that you're talking to. And you also make people feel comfortable speaking to you. So you may notice that people share a lot of things with you, or they may talk a lot when they're around you, especially if they have an undefined center. So Katt Williams is a good example of someone who has a defined throat center. And I did a video maybe 2 weeks ago after he did his interview with Shannon Sharp, talking about some of his centers and why his energy is how it is. And I talk about his throat center, his defined throat center, on there. So make sure you check that video out. It's linked below, or you can check out the human design playlist that I have on my page. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the undefined throat center. And the undefined throat center is basically an open center. It's the throat center that is white. It doesn't have any color, even though it may have a defined gate. An undefined center will have a defined gate, but I'm just saying the open center, undefined center essentially kind of have the same traits. So the definition within your throat center in an undefined center would come from the gates that are defined within your throat, the 11 gates that I mentioned earlier. And so the defined gates will give you more information and details about how you express yourself and how the energy of your voice is. You may struggle to consistently express yourself or think of things to say when you're on the spot. You may feel pressure to talk a lot and then not necessarily know what to say. So you may have some anxieties around speaking. You may be vulnerable. You are vulnerable to external conditioning from the people around you if you don't have a defined center. So you're taking in the energy of the people around you, which influences your voice, and the consistency and reliability of your tone of voice. So it's always changing. And so for an undefined throat center, you do better with spontaneous speaking rather than trying to plan out what you're going to say and stick to it. Even if you do try to plan it out, it may give you some ideas, but more than likely you're going to bounce around and just you'll flow better if it's more spontaneous rather than trying to make it be something that's written down on paper. If you have an undefined throat center, you are sensitive to the energies around you. So you may, like I said, have some anxieties surrounding speaking. So you may either shut down when you feel anxious about communicating, or you may overtalk so that you can feel like you're heard. People with an undefined throat center make up 28% of the population, and the people with a defined throat center make up 72% of the population. So if you think about it, if you have an undefined throat center, you often may feel like you don't have a voice, because you're surrounded by people who, the majority of them, have a defined voice, a defined throat center. So it overpowers your throat center essentially. The number of gates, like I said, there are 11 gates in your throat center. And so I also spoke about the throat center in my last video about the workshop I attended. I took a look at my throat center and I recognized that I only had 2 gates and my throat center defined. And so I don't like to talk a lot. I'm kind of uncomfortable talking. I'm quiet until I don't need to be quiet, or until, it feels right. But then my partner in my workshop had, I believe, 7 of the gates defined in her throat center, and she talked all the time and she loved talking, and she said her friends told her that she never knew how to stop talking. And so it's just interesting to compare the two. So look at your chart and check that out. Your open throat center, like I said, is very similar to an undefined center. This is where the conditioning takes place. You're taking in all the energy, you're amplifying energy. This can be a main source of pain, a trigger point. This, you may be triggered by the people around you energetically. You may blurt things out. You may go silent. This is where your not self theme or not self conditioning comes from, the open centers and the open energy in your chart. And since it's open, it's conditioned by the people around you, and you may not know your specific tone of voice, or you may not feel heard. And all of those insecurities stem from your open center. SZA, if you're familiar with her music, which I hope you are because she's amazing, she has an undefined throat center, and I will have a video coming up talking about that soon. So take a look at your favorite celebrities or musicians, and I would bet that the majority of them have a defined throat center. And then look at each gate, and you can see, by looking at each gate, you can gather more insight about the energy. I cannot talk today. You can gather more insight about the energy of your voice. So don't look at it as a bad thing. Everyone has defined centers and undefined centers and open centers, and that's what makes us unique. So we're not looking to all have defined centers. We're not looking to all have undefined centers. We need a little bit of both to complete us and have a nice balance energetically. So don't look at it like black and white, good or bad. So take a look at your chart. What does it say about you? What does your throat center say about you? How well do you tell a story? How comfortable are you with speaking? How much do you talk? All of those things you can learn about yourself. But if you want to dive deeper, or if you want me to do the work for you, please go to my website to order your own personal energy report, which will be 25 plus pages, all dedicated to your energy, your aura type, your profile, your centers, your gates, all of it, everything that you were born with that makes you you energetically. Or you can schedule an appointment with me to dive in one-on-one, or to compare a chart with you and your loved one or relationship. So sabledanielle.com is my website. That information is in the detailed description box. And thank you for being here. I will catch y'all on the next video. Peace.